The stars looked different near the edge of the black nebula. Captain Dewan stood on the bridge of the Dawn Seeker, watching the dark mass that filled half their view screen. It was not truly black, he thought. It shifted and moved like oil on water, with colors that had no names. Purple that was not purple, red that felt wrong. It had been there for 300 years, and no one knew what it was. "We are 2 hours from the boundary," Navigator Bora said from her station. She was the youngest of the crew, only 26 years old, but she could read space like others read books. Her fingers moved across her console, making small adjustments to their course. "All systems are normal. For now." Daewon nodded. He was 52 and had spent 30 years in space. He had seen strange things. Planets that rained glass, stars that sang, but nothing like this. The black nebula was different. It was wrong in a way that made his instincts scream. 47 ships, Dr. Hana said quietly. She stood beside him, her eyes on the nebula. She was tall and thin, with gray beginning to show in her black hair. 47 ships went in. None came back. Not one signal. Not one piece of debris floating out. Just silence. "Why are we doing this again?" That was Taman, their engineer. He was checking the shield systems for the 3rd time that hour. He believed in preparation. Check everything twice, then check it again. It had kept him alive for 15 years on dangerous missions. "Because it is growing," Hana said. She pulled up a holographic display between them. The nebula rotated slowly in the air, rendered in blue light. 10 years ago it was 4 light years across. Now it is almost 6. In another 50 years it will reach the Talron system. 3 billion people live there. And the Galactic Council said no one should investigate, Medical Officer Kyung added. She walked onto the bridge carrying a tray of coffee. Real coffee, not the synthetic stuff. She believed that if you were flying into something that killed 47 ships, you should have good coffee first. They declared it a forbidden zone. Any ship that enters loses all protection under galactic law. Daewon took a cup and smiled slightly. Which is why they asked humans to do it. That was true. Humanity was new to the galactic community. Only 200 years since first contact. The older races looked at humans and saw children. Reckless children who took risks that no sensible species would take. But those same races had a problem they could not solve, and humans had volunteered. "The shields are ready," Taemin said. "The new design. It should protect us from whatever energy that thing is throwing out." He did not sound completely certain. No one could be certain about technology that had never been tested in real conditions. The shields were humanity's contribution to galactic science. Most species developed weapons first, then defense. Humans had done both at the same time. The new shields could adapt to different kinds of energy. In theory. If the theory was wrong, they would die very quickly. 1 hour to boundary, Bora announced. Her voice was steady, but Daewon could see her hands shaking slightly. Fear was good. Fear kept you careful. It was the people who felt no fear that made stupid mistakes. Hana moved to her science station and began running scans. The data that came back made no sense. Temperature readings that said the nebula was both hot and cold at the same time. Mass calculations that changed every second. Energy signatures that matched no known particle in the universe. "This is impossible," Hana muttered. She ran the scans again. The same impossible results. "The physics are wrong, all of it. It is like the nebula exists in a different reality." "Maybe it does," Kyung said. She was studying the medical sensors, making sure the crew's biology could handle whatever they were about to face. "Maybe that is why ships disappear. They go somewhere else," Daewon considered that. It was as good a theory as any other. Better than most. "If we disappear," he said slowly, "we set the ship to send out a final message. Everything we learned, everything we saw, someone needs to know. Already programmed," Taemin confirmed. "If we lose main power for more than 1 hour, the emergency beacon activates. It will broadcast everything in our computers." 30 minutes to boundary, Bora said. The bridge became quiet. Each person focused on their station, on their duties. This was the moment. The point where they could still turn back. Daewon could give the order. Reverse course. Return to known space. Tell the council that the risk was too great. But he thought of the Talron system. 3 billion people who would need to evacuate if the nebula kept growing. Where would they go? How do you move 3 billion people? And what about the next system after that? And the next? "All crew, this is the captain," Daewon said into the ship-wide communication system. We are about to enter the Black Nebula. If anyone wants to object, speak now. This is a volunteer mission. No one will be punished for refusing. Silence answered him. The Dawnseeker had a crew of 30. Scientists, engineers, pilots, and support staff. They all knew the risks. They all stayed at their posts. 10 minutes to boundary, Bora said. I'm picking up something strange. The nebula it is reacting to us. The energy patterns are changing. Hana looked at her instruments. She is right. It knows we are here. It is like it is watching us. Can something that big be alive? Taemin asked. We are about to find out, Kyung said. The view screen showed the nebula growing larger. It filled their entire view now. The colors shifted faster, swirling in patterns that hurt to watch. Daewon felt something strange. A pressure in his head. Not painful, but present. Like someone was standing very close to him in a dark room. 5 minutes, Bora said. Her voice was tight. Captain, the navigation systems are acting strange. The stars behind us are in the wrong positions, right? Confirmed, Hana said quickly. Space-time is distorted near the boundary. The nebula is bending reality around itself. Shields at maximum, Taemin reported. All systems green. We are as ready as we will ever be. Daewon sat in his captain's chair. He gripped the armrests. Bora, take us in. Slow and steady. At the first sign of danger, we reverse course. Yes, Captain. The Dawnseeker moved forward. The nebula grew closer. On the view screen, they could see the boundary now. A line where normal space ended and something else began. It was like looking at the edge of the universe. 30 seconds, Bora counted. 20 seconds, 10. The ship crossed the boundary. Everything changed, the stars disappeared. The universe vanished. They were surrounded by colors that should not exist. The ship shuddered and every alarm started screaming at once. Daewon felt time itself become strange. Seconds stretched like hours. Then snapped back. Then stretched again. We are inside, Bora said. But her voice sounded wrong. Too slow, then too fast. I cannot find the exit. Captain, I cannot find the way out. On the view screen, shapes moved in the colors. Huge shapes. Impossible shapes. And Daewon realized that Kyung had been right. The nebula was not just alive. It was aware. And it was looking at them. The real test was about to begin. The screaming alarms hurt everyone's ears. Taemin worked fast at his console, shutting them off one by one. His hands moved with practiced speed, but Daewon could see sweat on his forehead. Outside the ship, the colors swirled and moved like living things. Status report, Daewon ordered. His voice was calm. A captain had to be calm even when everything was wrong. Engines are working, Taemin said. Shields are holding. But the power consumption is triple what it should be. Something is pushing against us hard. Communications are dead, Bora added. I am trying every frequency. Nothing. We are completely cut off from the outside universe. Hana stared at her instruments with wide eyes. Captain, this is not normal matter. The nebula is made of something that exists between dimensions. It is touching our reality, but also touching somewhere else. Everywhere else. I do not have the words to explain it. Kyung checked her medical scanners. Crew vitals are stable, but I am reading strange neural activity. Everyone's brain is more active than normal. Like we are all dreaming while awake, Daewon felt it too. A strange sensation in his mind. Thoughts that were not quite his own. Feelings that came from nowhere. He pushed them away and focused on the immediate problem. They were alive. The ship was working. That was good, but they needed information. Bora, can you navigate? He asked. She tried moving the ship forward. The Dawnseeker responded, but it felt wrong. Like pushing through thick mud. I can navigate, she said slowly. But space is not working right here. I tell the ship to go forward and we move, but the distance traveled does not match what it should be. Sometimes we move too far. Sometimes not far enough. Time is broken too, Taemin said. He pointed at several chronometers on his console. Each one showed a different time. We have been inside for either 3 minutes or 30 minutes or 3 hours. I cannot tell which is correct. Hana moved between stations, gathering data. Her scientist mind worked to make sense of the impossible. The nebula is not following the normal rules of physics. It is creating its own rules. We need to learn those rules fast or we will not survive. A soft chime came from Bora's station. She looked down, then back up at Daewon. Captain, I am detecting something. Solid objects. Many of them. About 5 kilometers ahead. On screen, Daewon ordered. The view changed. Through the swirling colors, shapes began to appear. Dark shapes. Metal shapes, ships, dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. They floated in the nebula like dead fish in water. The ships, Kyung whispered. The 47 ships. But it was more than 47. Much more. The Dawn Seeker moved closer and they could see better. Ships of all sizes, all designs. Some looked human. Others were clearly alien. Strange curves and angles that human engineers would never use. That is a Vrelian warship, Hana said, pointing at one massive vessel. The Vrelians have not used that design for 200 years. And there, that is a Moth Collective Explorer. They stopped building ships like that even longer ago. Taman pulled up records. 47 ships were recorded as lost in the last 300 years. But I am seeing many more than that. Some of these ships might be 500 years old, 1,000 years old, maybe older. A graveyard, Boris said quietly. This is a graveyard of every ship that ever entered. Daewon made a decision. Taemin, prepare a boarding team. We need to learn what happened to these ships. Maybe their computers have information we can use. Sir, is that safe? Kyung asked. Nothing here is safe, Daewon replied. But we need answers. Hana, Taemin, you are with me. Kyung, you have the bridge. If anything happens to us, if we do not return in 4 hours, take the ship and try to find a way out. Kyung nodded. She did not like it, but she understood. They were here to investigate. That meant taking risks. 20 minutes later, Daewon, Hana, and Taemin floated through space in protective suits. The nebula pressed around them, and the colors were even more intense outside the ship. Each breath of recycled air sounded loud in Daewon's helmet. They approached the Vrelian warship. It was huge, built for war. Weapons covered its surface, but those weapons were silent now. The ship floated dead and dark. Taemin found an airlock and worked to open it. Their systems are still powered, he said with surprise. Not much, but there is some energy. This ship is not completely dead. The airlock opened with a hiss of escaping air. They went inside. Emergency lights flickered on, sensing movement. The corridor beyond was empty and cold. Life support is minimal, Hana reported. Enough to keep the ship from falling apart, but not enough for life. Anyone aboard would have died long ago. They moved through the corridors. Everything was perfectly preserved. No damage, no signs of struggle, just empty hallways and silent rooms. It was like the crew had simply vanished. They found the bridge. Here, too, everything was in order. Stations were unmanned but powered. The main view screen still showed the swirling colors outside. Taemin went to the ship's computer core. I am going to try accessing their logs. The Vrelian language is in our database. We should be able to translate. It took several minutes. The computer was old and slow. But finally, data began flowing. Records, captain's logs, science reports. All translated into human language, Hana read them aloud. Her voice was steady, but Daewon heard the fear underneath. They entered the nebula 400 years ago. A military expedition, 40 ships. They wanted to claim the nebula for the Vrelian Empire. She scrolled through more logs. They encountered the same things we did. Time distortion. Space acting wrong. They found other ships, just like we found them. They decided to continue deeper, looking for the center. More scrolling. They found something. An energy source, massive. They tried to harness it. Tried to take it. The captain writes that they will return home as heroes with power enough to rule the galaxy. The final log entry made the room feel colder. The nebula is responding. It knows we are here. It knows what we want. Oh gods, it knows our intentions. It is judging us. We were wrong. We should not have tried to take. We should have asked. We should have. The log ended there. Daewon looked around the empty bridge. They tried to steal from the nebula, and it took them. Not just them, Taemin said. He had accessed more files. I found a data exchange between ships. They all wanted the same thing, power, control. They came here to take. Hana was pale. What if the nebula is alive? Really alive? What if it removes anyone who tries to harm it? Then we need to be very careful about what we do next, Daewon said. They searched 2 more ships. A Moth Collective vessel. A human explorer. The pattern was the same. Every ship came seeking something. Resources, technology, weapons, knowledge they could use for advantage. Every ship tried to take from the nebula. Every crew disappeared. Back on the Dawn Seeker, Daewon called a meeting. All department heads gathered in the briefing room. He shared what they had learned. The nebula is not just an anomaly, he said. It is something intelligent. Something that judges those who enter. Every ship that tried to take something from it was destroyed. What about us? Bora asked. Why are we still alive? Maybe because we have not tried to take anything yet, Hana suggested. Or maybe because it is still deciding what to do with us. Kyung leaned forward. So what do we do? We came here to investigate, to learn about the nebula. Is that the same as trying to take from it? Daewon considered the question. It was a good question. An important question. I think it depends on our intentions. Why we want to know. The others wanted knowledge to use for power. We want knowledge to protect people. Maybe that is different. Or maybe the nebula does not care about the difference, Taemin said darkly. Maybe it kills everyone regardless. Then we are already dead, Bora said. So we might as well keep investigating. Daewon nodded slowly. The young navigator was right. They had crossed the point of no return. We continue forward. But carefully. We observe, we record. We do not touch anything without discussing it first. And we stay ready to run if we get the chance. The meeting ended. Each person returned to their station. The Dawnseeker moved deeper into the nebula, passing more dead ships. The graveyard seemed endless. And somewhere in the swirling colors, Daewon felt that presence again. That feeling of being watched. The nebula knew they were there. It was waiting to see what they would do next. He just hoped they would make the right choice. 3 days passed inside the nebula. Or maybe 3 hours. Or 3 weeks. Time meant nothing here. The crew of the Dawnseeker relied on their internal chronometers and sleep cycles to maintain some sense of order. Daewon marked each rest period in his personal log, counting the days by hand. The ship moved deeper into the field of dead vessels. There were so many, hundreds, thousands perhaps. Every few kilometers they found more. Ships from species Hana had never heard of, designs that matched no database. Some ships looked organic, grown rather than built. Others were simple metal boxes with engines attached. Every galactic civilization is represented here, Hana said during a briefing. She displayed images of different vessels. I have identified 42 distinct design philosophies. 42 different species or cultures, all lost. All taken by the nebula. Bora traced navigation patterns on her screen. The ships are not randomly placed. They are sorted, arranged by type. Military vessels in one section, science ships in another, commercial transports over there. It is like a museum. Or a collection, Kyung added quietly. Something is organizing them, keeping them preserved. Taemin had been working on ship systems constantly. The nebula's energy pressed against their shields every moment. It was draining their power faster than expected. We have enough energy for another week, he reported. Maybe less if we need to run the engines hard. We need to make a decision soon. Go deeper or turn back. Daewon studied the maps Bora had created. Somewhere ahead, deeper in the nebula, all the sensor readings pointed to something large. A structure, a source, the heart of whatever this place was. We go forward, he decided. But first we need more information. We board one more ship, the largest human vessel we can find. They found it 2 hours later. The explorer ship Unity. It had disappeared 70 years ago with a crew of 150. A joint mission from Earth, Mars, and the Belt Colonies. The ship was enormous, built to travel for decades. It floated silent among the others. This time Daewon took a larger team. Hana, Taemin, Kyung, and Bora all came. 5 sets of eyes to see what might be hidden. They docked with the Unity's main airlock. The ship had power like the others. Emergency lighting made everything look red and dim. Their boots echoed on metal floors as they walked through empty corridors. They passed crew quarters where belongings still sat on shelves. Photographs, books, personal items waiting for owners who would never return. It is sad, Bora said softly. They were people. They had families, lives. Kyung touched a child's toy left on a chair. The Unity carried families. Scientists brought their children. There were teachers aboard, a whole community. They found the bridge. It was larger than the Dawn Seekers, with stations for a dozen officers. The captain's chair sat empty. Taemin went to work on the computer systems while Hana examined the science logs. Got it, Taemin said after several minutes. Full access to their records. Reading now. The story that emerged from the logs was detailed. The Unity had entered the nebula with hope and excitement. They believed they would make the greatest discovery in human history. For days they explored safely. They found the dead ships. They investigated several. They learned what the crew of the Dawnseeker had learned. The Nebula took those who tried to steal from it, but the Unity's captain made a different choice. He decided they would not take. They would only observe. They would respect the Nebula and whatever intelligence controlled it. Smart man, Daewon muttered. Hana continued reading. They went deeper. Much deeper than we have gone. They found the center. They called it the core. A structure made of energy and matter mixed together. Something impossible. Something that should not exist. The logs became more excited. The crew of the Unity had made contact. Not physical contact. Mental contact. The Nebula had spoken to them. Not in words, but in thoughts. Feelings. Concepts that human language could not express properly. The Nebula called itself a guardian. Hana read aloud. It was created by an ancient civilization. A people who achieved great power but destroyed themselves with it. Before they died, they built the guardian. Its purpose was to test any species that found it. To judge if they were wise enough to handle power. Bora leaned over Hana's shoulder to see the screen. So it is a test. Everything here is a test, yes, Hana confirmed. The guardian judges intentions. It looks into the hearts of those who enter. If it finds greed, it removes them. If it finds wisdom, it allows them to leave with knowledge. What happened to the Unity? Kyung asked. They seemed to understand. Why did they not return? Taemin found the final logs. His face became grim as he read. They understood the test, but they made a mistake. The Guardian offered them knowledge. Technology far beyond anything humans had. The captain refused. He said humanity was not ready, but his crew disagreed. The final log entry was from the captain. His words were sad and tired. 3/4 of my crew demand we accept the Guardian's gift. They say we can change human history, end poverty, cure disease, stop wars. They have good intentions. They want to help. But I know what power does. I have seen it. Power corrupts even the best intentions. I must refuse. But I'm only one voice against many. The log ended with a final note. The Guardian says we must all agree. We must choose together. If we cannot leave. We are divided, and that division will keep us here forever. I am sorry to those who wait for us. Tell them we tried. Tell them we almost made it. The room was silent after Taemin finished reading. The fate of the Unity was clear. They had passed the first test by not trying to steal, but they failed the second test by being unable to agree among themselves. They are still alive, Kyung said suddenly. She was looking at a different screen. Medical data. According to these readings, the crew entered stasis. They are preserved. Frozen in time, waiting. Waiting for what? Bora asked. Waiting to agree, Daewon answered. Or waiting for someone to free them. They searched more of the ship. They found the stasis pods deep in the lower decks. Row after row of clear tubes containing people. Men, women, children, all frozen, all still alive in a way. Not dead but not living either. Trapped in the moment of their disagreement, Hana scanned the pods with her instruments. The Guardian is keeping them alive. It is using its energy to preserve them. It has been doing this for 70 years. Why? Taemin wondered. Why not just kill them and be done with it? Because it is not cruel, Kyung said. It is a test, not a punishment. The Guardian hopes they will eventually agree. It is giving them time. Daewon looked at the frozen faces. Young and old, all trapped by their inability to work together. This is what we needed to see. This is the real danger, not the Nebula killing us, but us killing ourselves through division. They returned to the Dawnseeker and gathered the entire crew. 30 people in the common room. Daewon told them everything. He showed them the recordings, the logs, the stasis pods. We are going to continue to the core, he said. We are going to meet this Guardian, and it will test us. Maybe it will offer us something. Maybe it will just judge our intentions. But whatever happens, we must be united. We must agree on our choices together. What if we disagree? A young engineer asked. What if some of us want different things? Then we end up like the Unity, Daewon said simply. Frozen, preserved, waiting forever for agreement that never comes. Hana stood up. I suggest we decide now what we want. Before we reach the core, before we are tested, let us talk about it openly. The discussion lasted hours. People argued, debated. Some wanted to ask the Guardian for knowledge. Others wanted only to learn about it and leave. Some feared asking for anything at all. But slowly, through talking and listening, a consensus formed. They would approach the Guardian with respect. They would offer friendship, not demands. If the Guardian offered knowledge, they would accept only what they could safely use and what they would share freely with all species. No secrets, Day-One declared. No hoarding. No advantages kept only for humans. Whatever we learn, we share with everyone. A vote was taken. 30 people. 30 hands raised in agreement. It was unanimous. Then we are ready, Day-One said. Bora, set course for the core. Let us meet this Guardian and show it what humans can be when we work together. The Dawnseeker turned and began moving deeper into the nebula. Behind them, the graveyard of ships faded into the swirling colors. Ahead, something immense waited. Something ancient and powerful. Something that would judge if humanity deserved to join the ranks of wise species or if they would become another cautionary tale preserved in stasis. Day-One sat in his captain's chair and hoped they had made the right choice. Soon they would know. The core appeared gradually, like dawn breaking over a strange horizon. At first it was just a glow in the distance. Then it became a shape. Then it became something that hurt to look at directly, a structure that existed in too many dimensions at once. Hana's instruments could not properly measure it. Every sensor gave different readings. The core was large and small, near and far, solid and liquid, all at the same time. I cannot describe it, Hana said with frustration. Human language does not have words for what I am seeing. It is like trying to explain color to someone who has never seen. Bora struggled with navigation. Distance has no meaning here. We are moving toward it, but I cannot tell how far away it is. Could be 10 kilometers. Could be 10,000. The ship moved forward anyway, pulled by something more than engines. The core wanted them to approach. It was inviting them. Day-One could feel it in his mind. Not words, but intention. Welcome, curiosity, interest. It knows we are here, Kyung said. She was monitoring the crew's brain activity. Everyone is experiencing increased neural activity. The Guardian is touching all our minds at once, gently, not forcing, just present. Taemin checked the shields. They were still holding, but barely. The energy around the core was intense. Captain, if we get much closer, we might lose shield integrity. Maintain course, Day-One ordered. He had to trust that the Guardian would not harm them without cause. They had come this far. They had to see it through. The core grew larger, or they grew smaller. Space was strange here. Reality bent and twisted. Colors that could not exist painted themselves across the view screen. Sounds that were not sounds echoed through the ship. Everyone felt something. A pressure. A presence. An awareness that was vast and old and completely focused on their small ship. Then they were there. At the core, inside it perhaps, around it. The distinction did not matter. They existed in the same space as the Guardian now. The view screen showed nothing that made sense. Patterns of light and darkness that seemed to have meaning but remained just beyond understanding. Then it spoke. Not with sound. Not with words. But everyone heard it, felt it, understood it. The Guardian's consciousness touched theirs. It was like having a conversation in a dream. The meaning was clear even though no actual language was used. You are the humans, the Guardian said. Or thought or was. The concept flowed into their minds. You are the young ones. The new children of the galaxy. Day-One tried to think clearly. To form a response. We are human, he projected. We come in peace. We seek understanding. I know, the Guardian responded. The feeling that came with it was complex. Curiosity mixed with amusement. Confusion mixed with interest. You are strange. Different from the others. I have tested thousands of species over millions of years. All were easy to understand. But you are not. You confuse me. Hana felt a surge of scientific curiosity overwhelm her fear. How do we confuse you? The Guardian's response came with images, feelings, memories of other species it had tested. Each species had been unified in their purpose, clear in their intentions. They wanted power for conquest, or knowledge for advantage, or resources for survival. Their motivations were simple and pure, even if they were selfish. But you, the Guardian said, you are chaos. You are contradiction. Each of you wants different things. You fear but approach. You doubt but hope. You are selfish but generous. You lie to yourselves but seek truth from others. I do not understand you, Kyung tried to respond. We are complex. Is that wrong? It is unusual, the Guardian answered. Most species that achieve space travel have unified their thinking. They have become singular in purpose. It makes them strong but predictable. You remain divided even while working together. This should make you weak, yet you are here. You survived what destroyed species far more advanced. Taemin felt the Guardian examine him specifically. It was not invasive, but it was thorough, like being x-rayed by curiosity. You want to understand us? Yes, the Guardian said simply. The last human ship came to me. The Unity. They were closer to understanding than most species. They did not try to steal, but they broke apart through disagreement. I have kept them safe, hoping they would eventually unite. But 70 of your years have passed and still they cannot agree in their sleep. Bora felt sadness from the Guardian at this. It was not happy about keeping the Unity frozen. It wanted to release them but could not until they passed the test. What is the test? Daewon asked directly. What do you want from us? The Guardian's response came with weight. Ancient weight. The weight of millions of years and thousands of civilizations. I test intention. I test wisdom. The civilization that created me destroyed itself with power they were not ready to handle. They built me as a warning. As a gatekeeper, I offer power to those who approach. If they take with greed, I remove them. If they take with wisdom, I allow them to grow. But wisdom is rare. What happens to those who fail? Hana asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. They join my collection, the Guardian answered. The sadness in its response was genuine. I preserve them. Not as punishment, but as lesson, so they might witness what wisdom looks like if it ever comes. Some I keep alive in stasis, hoping they might learn. Others were beyond saving. They were too far consumed by their greed. Those I simply stopped. The crew of the Dawnseeker felt the enormity of what the Guardian was describing. All those ships in the graveyard, all those civilizations, warnings and lessons preserved forever. The Vrelians wanted to conquer, the Guardian continued. The Moth Collective wanted to become gods. The Trell wanted immortality for themselves alone. The Korthan wanted weapons to destroy their enemies. All wanted power for themselves. All failed. And the Unity? Kyung asked. The Unity wanted to help their species. Noble intention. But they could not agree on how to use what I offered. Leadership said humanity was not ready. Crew said humanity needed help immediately. Both were correct. Both were wrong. Without unity, wisdom means nothing. I could not let them take my gift with such division. They would have destroyed themselves fighting over how to use it. Daewon understood. The test was not just about intention. It was about unity too. A species had to know itself, trust itself. Work together. We have agreed, Daewon said. Our crew is united. For now, the Guardian responded. But I have not yet offered you anything. Agreement is easy when there is nothing to fight over. Let me test you truly. The Guardian's presence intensified. Each member of the crew felt it focus on them individually. It was reading them, understanding them, learning every fear, every hope, every secret desire they tried to hide even from themselves. You came to stop me from growing, the Guardian said, to protect the billions of lives in the systems I approach. This is good intention. You did not come for power or wealth. You came to save others. Relief flooded through the crew. They had passed the first test. But, the Guardian continued, you also want knowledge. You want to understand me. You want to return home with discoveries that will elevate humanity's status in the galaxy. You want glory, recognition, fame. These are selfish desires mixed with noble ones. This is what confuses me. You are both at once, is that wrong? Hana asked. To want to help others and also to benefit ourselves? The Guardian was quiet for a long moment. When it responded, there was something new in its tone. Uncertainty. I do not know. Every other species was one or the other. Never both. You are honest about your mixed intentions. You do not try to hide your selfishness. You do not pretend to be purely noble. This honesty is strange to me. We are human, Daewon said. We are complicated. We contradict ourselves. But we try to be honest about it. We try to do good even when we also want personal benefit. The Guardian considered this. The entire core seemed to pulse with thought. I have tested species for millions of years. I thought I understood the test. Good intentions pass. Bad intentions fail. But you are neither simply good nor simply bad. You are both. You are honest about being both. I do not have a protocol for this. Bora felt something she did not expect. The Guardian was uncertain. For the first time in ages, it had encountered something outside its programming. Something it did not know how to judge. What will you do with us? Taemin asked. I must test you further, the Guardian decided. I must see if your unity holds when temptation is real. I must see if your honesty remains when faced with power. Each of you will be offered something. Let us see what you choose. The core began to glow brighter. Energy built around the Dawn Seeker. The crew felt themselves being pulled apart. Not physically, but mentally. Each consciousness being isolated. Separated. Wait, Daewon tried to say. But it was too late. The test had begun. Daewon stood alone on a bridge that was not the Dawnseeker's bridge. It looked similar, but wrong. The colors were too bright, the edges too sharp. He knew immediately he was no longer in the real world. This was the Guardian's test. A mental space designed to challenge him. Captain Daewon, a voice said behind him. He turned to see himself. An older version. Gray hair, tired eyes, scars he did not yet have. Do you remember the Celsius mission? Daewon did remember. How could he forget? It was 15 years ago. His first command. A rescue mission that went wrong. He had made the call to save 12 people at a station, but had to abandon 40 others who were farther away. Those 40 died. The 12 lived. Mathematically correct. Morally devastating, I remember. Daewon said quietly. You chose to save fewer people because they were closer, his older self said. Faster. Easier. But if you had been braver, if you had pushed harder, you might have saved all 52. Your caution killed 40 people. Daewon felt the old guilt rise up. He had spent years questioning that decision, wondering if he could have done more. I made the best choice I could with the information I had. Did you? The older self waved his hand. The bridge changed, became the Celsius station, burning, dying. I can show you the timeline where you pushed harder. Want to see it? The scene shifted. Daewon watched himself make a different choice. Push the engines faster. Risk everything. In this timeline, he reached all 52 people. Saved them all. Became a hero. The scene was beautiful, perfect, then it changed. 2 months later, the ship he pushed too hard broke down. Systems damaged by the stress. 30 people died in a cascade failure. Different people. Different deaths. But deaths nonetheless. Every choice has consequences, his older self said. You cannot see them all. You cannot save everyone. But I can give you the power to do so. The Guardian offers you perfect knowledge. Perfect foresight. You will never have to guess again. Never lose people to bad decisions. You will save everyone. Every time, forever. Daewon stared at the offer. It was everything he wanted. Every captain's dream. To make the right call, always. To never watch good people die because of a choice. What is the cost? He asked. You must accept this gift alone, the older self said. Use it for humanity. Lead them with perfect knowledge. Become what they need, a guiding hand that never fails. Daewon understood the trap. Power concentrated in one person. Even with good intentions, even with perfect knowledge. It was dictatorship. Benevolent perhaps, but still one person deciding for billions. No, he said firmly. I will not. Meanwhile, in another mental space, Hana stood in a library. Books surrounded her. But these were not ordinary books. Each one contained all the knowledge of a dead civilization. Sciences humanity had not discovered. Mathematics beyond human understanding. The secrets of reality itself, a figure approached. It looked like her mentor from university, the woman who had inspired her to become a scientist. Dr. Hana, look at all this knowledge. Everything you ever wanted to know. Every question you ever had. All answered in these books. Hana reached for a book. Opened it. The knowledge flowed into her mind. Quantum physics made simple. The nature of time explained. How to build faster than light drives. How to manipulate gravity. How to extend human life indefinitely. It was beautiful. Perfect. Everything her scientist's heart desired. You can have it all, her mentor said. Take these books. Return to humanity. You will be the greatest scientist who ever lived. You will solve every problem. Cure every disease. Unlock every mystery. What is the cost? Hana asked, though she already suspected. You must keep this knowledge safe, the mentor said. Share it carefully. Only with those wise enough to use it properly. You must decide who is ready and who is not. You must protect humanity from its own foolishness. Hana closed the book. She understood. The Guardian was offering her the power to judge other humans. to decide who deserved knowledge and who did not. It was the same trap that had destroyed the ancient civilization. The belief that some people were wise enough to control others. No, she said, I will not take this alone. Tamien found himself in a workshop. The perfect workshop. Tools beyond imagination, materials that could not exist. Before him sat a machine. He knew without being told that it was a builder. A device that could create anything, any technology, any weapon, any wonder. A figure that looked like his father approached. Son, with this machine you can make humanity unstoppable. Ships that cannot be destroyed. Weapons that guarantee peace through strength. Technology that puts humans above all other species. We will never be threatened again. Tamien examined the machine. It was elegant, simple, powerful. He could see how it worked, could understand its principles. With this, humanity could build anything, become anything, dominate the galaxy. What is the cost? He asked. You must build these things, his father's image said. You must ensure humanity's superiority. Other species cannot be trusted with this power. They will use it against us, but if humans have it first, we can protect ourselves. We can make the galaxy safe by making ourselves the strongest force in it. Tamien saw the future this choice led to. Humanity with overwhelming power. Other species bowing to human strength. Peace through domination. It was seductive, tempting, safe. No, he said. Safety bought with fear is not real safety. Bora stood on a bridge between timelines. She could see them all. Every possible future branching infinitely. In one, humanity spread peacefully across the stars. In another, they conquered aggressively. In a third, they isolated themselves. In a fourth, they destroyed themselves. Every choice, every consequence, all visible at once. Navigator Bora, a voice said. It sounded like her own voice, but older, wiser. You can see the best path forward, the timeline where humanity thrives, where suffering is minimized, where growth is maximized. I can give you the power to guide humanity to that perfect future. Bora saw it. The golden path. The best possible outcome for humanity and all species. Every turn taken correctly, every disaster avoided. It was beautiful. What is the cost? She whispered. You must steer humanity toward this future, the voice said. Manipulate events. Guide decisions. Use your knowledge of what comes to prevent bad choices. You will save countless lives, prevent endless suffering. All you must do is occasionally deceive people for their own good. Hide the truth when truth would lead them astray. Control when control is necessary. Bora saw the trap. To save everyone, she would have to control everyone. Remove free will. Make humans into puppets dancing on strings of predestination. No, she said. I will not steal their choices from them. Kyung stood in a hospital. But this hospital could cure anything. Every disease, every injury, every genetic flaw. Before her was a device, a medical miracle. She understood it instantly. How to use it, how to replicate it. With this knowledge, she could end all human suffering from illness. A figure that looked like her grandmother approached. The grandmother who had died from a disease Kyung could not cure. My child, you can save so many. No more cancer, no more genetic disorders, no more watching children die from illness. You can give humanity perfect health. Kyung touched the device, felt its power, saw the millions she could save, including children yet to be born. Future generations freed from the diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia. What is the cost? She asked. You must decide who receives treatment first, her grandmother said. Resources are limited at the start. You must choose. The young or the old, the rich or the poor. Your people or others, someone must make these choices. Let it be you. You are a doctor. You understand triage. You know how to choose who lives and who waits. Kyung saw the weight of that choice. Deciding who deserved health first. Judging the value of lives. Playing God in a doctor's coat. No, she said. I will not make that choice alone. In the real world, only seconds had passed. The crew of the Dawnseeker stood frozen on their bridge. The Guardian watched them, measured them, studied their choices. Then something happened the Guardian had never seen before. The crew began reaching for each other. Not physically. They were still separated. But mentally, through the connection the Guardian itself had created, they found each other in the test space. Daewon sensed Hana, felt her presence in his trial. Hana sensed Tamien. Tamien sensed Bora. Bora sensed Kyung. Kyung sensed Daewon. The circle completed. What are you doing? the Guardian asked, startled. This is not how the test works. You are supposed to choose individually. We are human, Daewon said, his voice echoing through all 5 trial spaces simultaneously. We choose together. The power you offer, Hana added. We refuse to take it alone. We cannot trust ourselves with such decisions, Taemin said. We need each other to stay honest, Bora said. We need each other to stay human, Kyung finished. The Guardian felt confusion, deep confusion. Every other species had faced this test alone. Each individual trying to prove their worthiness, competing even against their own crew members. But humans were not competing. They were cooperating, supporting, refusing the offers not out of nobility alone but because they did not trust themselves without each other. You reject the power I offer? The Guardian asked. Not reject, Daewon clarified. Refuse to take it alone. If you offer knowledge, we take it together. If you offer power, we share it equally. If you offer choices, we make them as a group. We will not let... The Guardian's presence felt different now. Less like being examined and more like being understood. The crew of the Dawnseeker could sense its confusion transforming into something else. Curiosity, perhaps, or recognition. The core pulsed with light that seemed thoughtful. I have existed for 3 million years, the Guardian said. Its mental voice carried weight. The weight of ages. I have tested 17,412 species. Some were primitive. Some were advanced beyond your understanding. All failed in similar ways. They wanted power. They wanted control. They wanted to be gods. Images flooded the crew's minds, civilizations that had come before, species whose names were lost to time. Some looked humanoid. Others were completely alien. Things made of crystal, things made of energy, things that existed in dimensions humans could not perceive. All of them had approached the Guardian seeking something. All of them had failed. The civilization that created me, the Guardian continued, was called the Architects. They achieved wonders you cannot imagine. They bent space and time. They created matter from thought. They lived for thousands of years. They were gods in every way that matters. Hana felt a chill. What happened to them? They destroyed themselves, the Guardian said simply. They had power but not wisdom. They had knowledge but not restraint. They competed against each other, fought wars that shattered star systems, used technologies that broke the fabric of reality itself. In the end, they had the power to create universes but could not agree on how to use that power. The images came faster. Dying worlds, broken stars, space itself torn apart by weapons that should never have existed. The Architects had been magnificent, but magnificence without unity was suicide. Before they died, the Guardian said, the last Architects built me. They programmed me with their final understanding. That power without wisdom leads to destruction. That knowledge without responsibility leads to chaos. They made me a test. A guardian. A warning, so that other species might learn from their mistakes. Kyung felt deep sadness from the Guardian. It was not just a machine or an energy being. It was a monument. A gravestone for a civilization that had learned its lesson too late. For 3 million years, the Guardian continued, I have waited, testing, judging, removing those who would repeat the Architect's mistakes, preserving those who showed potential but failed. I thought I understood my purpose. Weed out the greedy, find the wise, but no species ever passed completely. The wise were too cautious. The brave were too reckless. The noble were too proud. The humble were too weak. What about the unity? Taemin asked. The unity came closest, the Guardian admitted. They understood that power requires unity, but they could not achieve that unity. They broke apart arguing about the right way to use what I offered. I kept them alive hoping they would eventually agree. But I begin to doubt they ever will. Their division is too deep. The Guardian's presence focused intensely on the crew. But you 5 humans, you did something none of the others did. You refused individual power. Not because you are noble, but because you do not trust yourselves alone. You admitted your flaws, your selfishness, your capacity for corruption, and you chose to rely on each other to stay honest. Daewon felt the Guardian's confusion like a physical thing. That surprises you? It confounds me, the Guardian admitted. Every species before you presented themselves as worthy. They claimed to be wise, noble, deserving. They hid their flaws and showed me their strengths. You did the opposite. You showed me your flaws and admitted your weaknesses. You said you were not wise enough alone, that you needed each other. This honesty is new to me. Bora understood suddenly. You were not testing just for wisdom. You were testing for self-awareness. The architects destroyed themselves because they thought they were wise enough to wield ultimate power alone. They were wrong. We know we are not wise enough. That is why we passed. The Guardian pulsed with something like excitement. Yes, exactly, yes. The architect's final lesson was not about acquiring wisdom. It was about recognizing the limits of wisdom, about understanding that no individual, no matter how advanced, should hold ultimate power alone. They learned this too late. You seem to understand it already. We have history, Hana said. Thousands of years of humans trying to rule alone. Kings, emperors, dictators. We know where individual power leads. It corrupts. Even the best people, even those who start with good intentions. But other species have history too, the Guardian said. Why did they not learn this lesson? Kyung thought carefully before answering. Maybe because they achieved unity before they achieved power. Their histories are different. But human history is chaos. We have never been unified. Not completely. We fight and argue and disagree constantly. But we learn to cooperate despite our differences. We learned that working together messy is better than one person making clean decisions. The Guardian was quiet for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice was different, softer, more personal. I have been lonely. For 3 million years I have waited for a species that understood, that could learn from the architect's mistake. I thought such a species would be perfect, unified, wise. But perhaps what I needed was a species that is imperfect, divided, honest about their limitations. We are definitely those things, Taman said with a slight smile. I want to show you something, the Guardian said, something I have never shown any species. The truth of what I am, not just what I do but why I do it. Will you see? The crew looked at each other. Daewon nodded. Show us, the core opened. Not physically, but the Guardian lowered its barriers. Let them see inside, into its memory, its purpose, its pain. They saw the architects in their final days, not as historical record, but as the Guardian had seen them, desperate, terrified, knowing they were dying, knowing they had killed themselves with their own power. The Guardian showed them the last council. 12 architects remaining from a civilization of trillions. 12 survivors trying to create something good from the ashes of their failure. Let us not waste this, one architect had said. She was dying. They were all dying. Radiation from their wars poisoning everything. Let us leave a gift. A teacher. A guardian. So others do not repeat our mistakes. They had built the Guardian with the last of their power. Programmed it with everything they knew. Given it immortality and purpose. Made it a test that would challenge any species that found it. Teach them what we learned too late, another architect had said. He was so young. Barely an adult by their standards. One of the last children born before the wars made reproduction impossible. Teach them that power alone is not enough. That wisdom alone is not enough. That they need each other. Always each other, the vision ended. The crew of the Dawn Seeker felt tears on their faces. The Guardian's origin was beautiful and tragic. A last desperate attempt by a dying people to create something good. Now you understand, the Guardian said. I am not just a test. I am a hope. The architects hoped that someday a species would come that could learn from their mistake. A species that could handle power because they understood they should not handle it alone. And you think we might be that species? Hana asked quietly. I think you might be the beginning of that species, the Guardian said. You are still young. Still learning. But you show the potential. The self-awareness. The humility that the architects lacked. Daewon felt the weight of this responsibility. What do you want from us? I want to make an offer, the Guardian said. Not the offer I made before. Not individual power or secret knowledge. I want to offer a partnership. Between humanity and me, between your species and the legacy of the architects. What kind of partnership? Bor asked carefully. I will teach you, the Guardian said. Slowly, carefully, as your species is ready. I will share the knowledge of the architects. Their sciences, their technologies, their mistakes. But not all at once. Not in a flood that would overwhelm you. Gradually, over generations, as you prove you can handle each piece responsibly. And in return? Taman asked. There was always an in return. In return, you help me with my purpose, the Guardian said. You become intermediaries between me and other species. You help me test others, not as gatekeepers, but as examples. You show other species that it is possible to be honest about limitations, to accept power slowly, to work together despite differences. Kyung saw the implications. You want us to help change how the galaxy thinks about power and wisdom. Yes, the Guardian said. For 3 million years, species have approached me seeking power. They see me as a prize to be won, a test to be passed. I want to change that. I want species to approach me as students, as partners, as those seeking to learn rather than to take. Humanity could help me make that change. The crew was silent. This was much bigger than they had expected. They had come to investigate a mysterious nebula. Now they were being offered a role in reshaping galactic civilization. We need to discuss this, Daewon said. As a crew, as humans. Can you give us time? Time here has no meaning, the Guardian reminded him. But yes, discuss, debate, decide together. That is what makes you different. Huzit, the Guardian's immediate presence, withdrew slightly, giving them space. The crew gathered in the center of the bridge. 5 people facing the biggest decision humanity had ever confronted. This is insane. The moment the crew spoke their acceptance, everything changed. The core blazed with light that was not light. The Guardian's presence expanded, filling not just the Dawn Seeker but the entire nebula. Every preserved ship, every frozen crew, all of it connected suddenly in one vast network of consciousness. It begins, the Guardian said. The joy in its voice was unmistakable. After 3 million years of waiting, it had finally found what it was looking for. Not perfect beings, but honest ones. Not wise gods, but aware humans. On the Dawn Seeker's bridge, a new interface materialized. It floated in the air between the crew stations. Not solid, but not quite holographic either. Something in between. A device made of mathematics and intention. It pulsed with soft blue light. This is a communication bridge, the Guardian explained. It works across dimensions. Across distances that normal signals cannot cross. With this, you will always be able to reach me, and I will be able to reach you. It is the first gift of our partnership. Hana studied the device with fascination. Her instruments could barely detect it. It existed in a state that was half real, half something else. How does it work? You think toward it, the Guardian said. Intent is the language of higher dimensions. Your thoughts will translate automatically. Time and distance will not matter. You could be on the other side of the galaxy and we would speak as easily as we do now. Taemin immediately saw the applications. If we can communicate instantly across any distance, this changes everything. No more time lag, no more waiting months for messages from distant colonies. Real-time communication across the entire human sphere. Eventually, the Guardian cautioned, this device is unique. I can make more, but it takes time and energy. For now, this is the only one. Use it wisely. Use it to maintain our connection and to coordinate the work ahead. What work? Daewon asked. You said you would release the preserved crews. When does that happen? Now, the Guardian said simply. Throughout the nebula, change rippled outward. In thousands of ships and countless stasis pods, frozen people began to wake. The Unity's crew, the Vrelian warriors, the Moth Collective scientists, species from civilizations that had crumbled millennia ago, all of them waking up, all of them confused and afraid. They will need help, Kyung said urgently. They will be disoriented, scared. Some have been frozen for centuries. This is where you come in, the Guardian said. This is the first task of our partnership. Go to them, explain what has happened, show them that the test has changed, that they have a choice now. Bora pulled up the navigation data. There are thousands of ships, tens of thousands of people. We are 5. How can we possibly reach them all? You begin with those closest, the Guardian said. The Unity, they are human. They will understand you. Help them first. They will help you with the others. Daewon made the decision quickly. Bora set course for the Unity. Best speed. Taemin, prepare docking equipment. Hana, Kyung, gather medical supplies and translators. We are about to have a lot of confused guests. The Dawn Seeker moved through the nebula. The colors seemed less threatening now. Less chaotic. It was as if the Guardian was calming itself, making the environment safer for those who were waking. They reached the Unity within an hour. The great ship's lights were coming on. Section by section, life support activating, atmosphere cycling. The ship was coming back to life after 70 years of sleep. Daewon's team docked at the main airlock. They waited as pressure equalized. Then the inner door opened. On the other side stood a man in an old-style uniform. He looked young, maybe 40, though he had been asleep for 70 years. His name badge read Captain Taeyang. "Who are you?" Taeyang asked. His voice was hoarse from disuse. "Where am I?" "The last thing I remember was arguing with my crew about whether to accept the Guardian's offer. Then everything went dark." "I am Captain Daewon," Daewon said gently. "You are still in the Nebula, still aboard the Unity. You have been in stasis for 70 years. But things have changed. The Guardian has changed. We need to talk." It took hours to explain everything. Taeyang gathered his senior crew. They sat in the Unity's conference room looking lost and shocked. 70 years. Earth had changed. Mars had tripled its population. New colonies existed in systems that had been empty when they left. And humanity had made first contact with a dozen more species. "You made a deal with the Guardian?" Taeyang asked slowly. "A partnership?" "Yes," Daewon confirmed. "We agreed to help it change how it interacts with species, to turn this place from a test into a school. In return, it releases everyone who was preserved, including you. And you speak for all humanity in this deal?" Taeyang's tone was not accusatory, just questioning. "No," Daewon said honestly. "We speak for ourselves, for our crew. We made the choice we thought was right. Humanity will need to decide for themselves if they want to honor it. But the Guardian believed we showed enough promise to begin the partnership." Hana stepped forward. "Captain Taeyang, you were frozen because your crew could not agree. Half wanted to accept the Guardian's knowledge, half wanted to refuse it. You were trapped by that division. But the situation has changed. The Guardian is not offering everything all at once anymore. It is offering a gradual sharing of knowledge over generations. Does that change how you feel?" Taeyang looked at his senior officers. They looked back at him. Slowly he nodded. "Yes, that changes things. Our argument was about whether humanity was ready for such power immediately. If it comes gradually, with time to adjust, to learn each piece properly, that is different. We can work with that." "Then you support the partnership?" Bora asked. "I need to talk to my full crew," Taeyang said. "All 150 of them. They are waking up throughout the ship. Give us time to process this, to discuss it. Then we will give you an answer." "Fair enough," Daewon said. "Take the time you need. Meanwhile, there are thousands of other crews waking up. Alien crews. They will need help. Will you assist us in reaching them?" Taeyang straightened. "Of course. That is why we came here originally. To help others. That has not changed." Over the next days, the Dawnseeker and Unity worked together. They moved from ship to ship, waking confused aliens, explaining the situation, offering choices. Some accepted immediately. Others were suspicious. A few were angry at having been preserved without their consent. The Vrelian crew was particularly difficult. Their leader, a military officer named Commander Vrax, refused to believe at first. "The Guardian tested us and found us wanting," he said bitterly. "Why would it release us now?" Hana explained patiently. "Because the test changed. It learned something new from humans. It learned that honesty about flaws is more valuable than claims of worthiness. You were judged for trying to take power, but the Guardian now understands that was the only option it offered. Now it offers something different. Learning, partnership, gradual growth. Will you accept that?" Vrax considered. His military mind worked through the implications. "My empire has fallen, has it not? 400 years. The Vrelian Empire I served is dust." "The empire changed," Taemin said gently. "But Vrelian people still exist. They are part of the Galactic Council now, equals with other species. You could go home, see what they have become." "And the knowledge?" Vrax asked. "The power we sought will be shared," Daewon said. "Not just with humans, not just with Vrelians, with all species who prove ready for it. Gradually, carefully, together." Vrax was silent for a long time. Then he nodded slowly. "My soldiers and I will need to discuss this. But I think the answer will be yes. We came seeking power to protect our people. If this new way protects everyone, that is better." One by one, the preserved crews agreed. Some chose to leave the Nebula immediately, to return home and see how their worlds had changed. Others chose to stay, to learn from the Guardian, to become the first students of the new school. A week passed, or what felt like a week. Time was still strange in the nebula, but the Guardian was helping them maintain normal chronology. The Dawnseeker's crew was exhausted but satisfied. They had helped wake nearly 3,000 people from dozens of species. The work continued, but the hardest part was done. "We need to go home," Daewon said during a crew meeting. "We need to report to Earth, to the Galactic Council. This cannot remain secret." "They will not believe us," Taemin said. "We need proof, evidence." "We have the Unity," Hana pointed out. "An entire ship full of humans who disappeared 70 years ago. That is proof. And we have the communication device. The Guardian can speak through it. Let them hear for themselves." "There is another problem," Kyung said quietly. "The galactic community declared the nebula a forbidden zone. We broke that law coming here. Some species will be angry. Some will accuse us of gaining unfair advantage by partnering with the Guardian." Bora nodded. "The Vrelian Empire tried to claim this nebula 400 years ago. Other species might try again. They might see the Guardian as a resource to control or a threat to eliminate. Daewon understood the danger. Then we need to be completely transparent. Share everything openly. No secrets. No hidden advantages. We show everyone that this is not about humanity gaining power over others. It is about everyone learning together." "Will they listen?" Taemin asked skeptically. "Some will," Daewon said. "Some will not. But we have to try. The alternative is keeping this secret, and secrets breed suspicion. We need trust." The moment the Dawnseeker and Unity emerged from the nebula, every sensor in 3 star systems detected them, 2 ships appearing where 47 had vanished. Within minutes, communication channels exploded with activity. Questions, demands, disbelief. "This is Dawnseeker, Captain Daewon commanding." He broadcast on all frequencies. "We are returning from the Black Nebula with critical information. We are accompanied by the explorer ship Unity, missing for 70 years. All crew are alive and well. We request immediate council with Earth Government and Galactic Council representatives." Silence followed, then chaos. Every news network in human space picked up the signal. The Unity returned after 70 years. It was impossible. It was miraculous. It was terrifying. A response came from Earth Space Command. "Dawnseeker, this is Admiral 1. Confirm your identity." "Confirm Unity's identity." "This cannot be real." "Admiral, this is very real," Daewon replied. "I am uploading our credentials now. Unity is uploading theirs. You will find everything matches historical records. We have a story to tell. A very important story. The journey home took 3 weeks as planned, but it was not a quiet journey. Every day, more ships appeared. Human vessels. Alien vessels. Some came to escort them. Others came to observe. A few came with weapons ready, suspicious of a trick. On the 5th day, a Vrelian warship intercepted them. It was massive, bristling with weapons. A voice crackled over the communication system. "Human ships, you have violated the Forbidden Zone. You have broken galactic law. Prepare to be detained." Captain Taeyang stepped forward. "This is Captain Taeyang of the Unity. I am human, but I speak with knowledge of Vrelian honor. 400 years ago, your ancestors entered the nebula seeking power. They were preserved, not destroyed. They are alive. Commander Vrax and his crew have been released. They are returning home even now in their own ship. Would you fire on vessels bringing your people back from the dead?" The Vrelian warship went silent. Then Commander Vrax? "He is a legend. A hero lost in the dark times. You claim he lives?" "He lives," Taeyang confirmed. "And he carries a message from the Guardian of the Nebula. A message for all Vrelians. Will you hear it?" More silence. Then the weapons powered down. "We will hear it. We will escort you. But know that we are watching." Similar confrontations happened with other species. Each time, the mention of their preserved crews returning alive shifted the mood from hostility to curiosity. Fear transformed into hope. On the Dawnseeker, the crew prepared for their arrival. Hana organized all the scientific data. Taemin prepared copies of the energy generation technology Hope had given them. Bora created detailed maps of the nebula and the locations of all preserved ships. Kyung compiled medical data on the preserved crews. "They will not believe us," Taemin said for the 100th time. "Even with all this evidence, people will think it is a trick." "Some will," Daewon agreed. "But others will listen. We only need enough people to listen. The truth will spread from there." The communication device that Hope had given them sat in the center of the bridge. It pulsed gently, a constant reminder of their connection to something vast and ancient. Occasionally, Hope's presence would touch their minds, brief, supportive, reminding them they were not alone. "You are doing well," Hope said during one such contact. "I can feel the fear and curiosity of those around you. Both are good. Fear means they respect the power of what you found. Curiosity means they want to understand rather than destroy." "Some want to destroy," Bora said quietly. She had been monitoring communications. "There are factions calling for a military strike on the Nebula. They see you as a threat." "Let them come," Hope said without concern. "I am beyond their ability to harm, and I will not retaliate. I will simply deny them entry. They will exhaust themselves against nothing and eventually give up. This is not worth your worry." Finally, after 3 weeks of travel, Earth appeared on their view screens, the blue planet that had given birth to humanity. Home. It looked so small, so fragile, yet it had sent out bold explorers who had changed the fate of the galaxy. "We are being hailed by Earth Orbital Command," Bora reported. "They want us to dock at Gateway Station. The Galactic Council is already assembling there. Representatives from 40 species. They want immediate testimony." "Then we give them testimony," Day One said. "All of it. Nothing hidden." Gateway Station was the largest human structure in space, a massive wheel spinning in orbit, providing artificial gravity for diplomatic meetings. As the Dawnseeker and Unity docked, cameras from 1,000 news organizations captured every moment. The whole galaxy was watching. The crew disembarked to crowds, security, reporters, government officials. The noise was overwhelming after weeks in the quiet of space. Captain Taiyang and his crew emerged from the Unity, looking disoriented. 70 years had passed. They had left a different Earth. Later, Daewon said to the reporters pressing close, "We will answer all questions later. First, we must brief the council." The council chamber was massive, a circular room with seats arranged in tiers. 40 species represented, some humanoid, others completely alien. Things with tentacles, things made of crystal, things that existed partially in other dimensions. All of them focused on the 5 humans standing in the center. Daewon stepped forward. "Honored representatives, we have returned from the Black Nebula. What we found there changes everything we thought we knew about power, wisdom, and our place in the galaxy." He told them everything. The graveyard of ships, the Guardian's true nature, the test that had destroyed thousands of species, the partnership that humanity had agreed to, the release of all preserved crews, the new energy technology, everything. Some representatives listened with fascination, others with suspicion. A Vrelian delegate stood abruptly. "You claim to speak for all humanity in this partnership? Who gave you that authority?" "No one," Daewon said honestly. "We had no authority. We were 5 people making the best choice we could in an impossible situation. We do not demand that humanity honor our agreement. We only ask that you consider it. The Guardian offers knowledge shared freely with all species. Gradually, carefully together. This benefits everyone." A crystalline delegate chimed. Its words were translated by computer. "How do we know this is not a human trick? A way to gain advantage over other species?" Hana stepped forward. "We brought proof. Not just testimony, but technology." She activated a holographic display. "This is a new energy generation method. Clean, efficient, safe. The Guardian gave it to us freely with one condition, that we share it with all species immediately. We are doing so now. Here are the complete designs. No patents, no restrictions, free for anyone to use." The chamber erupted in noise, delegates arguing with each other, some excited, some angry, some confused. A human representative from Mars stood. "If this technology works as described, it solves the energy crisis on dozens of colony worlds. But why would this Guardian give us something so valuable? What does it want in return?" "It wants students," Kyung answered. "Not servants, not worshippers. Students. Species willing to learn gradually rather than demanding power immediately. In 3 million years, every species that approached the Guardian wanted to take. We are the first to ask to learn." An elderly Moth Collective delegate spoke. Its voice was thin and whispering. 300 years ago, we sent a ship to that nebula. 200 of our finest minds. They never returned." "You say they are alive?" "They are," Taman confirmed. "Preserved in stasis. They tried to steal knowledge from the Guardian. They failed the test, but now the test has changed. They are being released. Your people are coming home. The delegates' wings quivered with emotion. When will they return? Soon, Day One said. Within months. Dozens of ships are preparing to leave the nebula. The Guardian is helping them restore their vessels, updating their technology, preparing them for the galaxy they will find. The session lasted for hours. Questions, debates, accusations. But slowly, the mood shifted. The preserved crews were real. The technology was real. The unity was real. Whether the delegates believed the full story or not, they could not deny the evidence. Finally, the council leader, a dignified Vrelian elder, spoke. This council must discuss these matters, but I propose we send a delegation to this nebula, representatives from all species, to meet this Guardian ourselves, to verify what we have been told. Hope welcomes this, Day One said. He gestured to the communication device which he had brought to the chamber. The Guardian can be contacted at any time through this. It will speak with anyone willing to listen. As if on cue, the device pulsed. Hope's presence filled the room. Not oppressive, not demanding. Just there, aware. Every delegate felt it, a vast consciousness touching their minds gently. I am Hope, the Guardian said. Its voice echoed in every mind simultaneously. I was called the Guardian of the Black Nebula, but that name belongs to the past. I am the Guardian of something new now, the threshold of hope, where species come to learn rather than to take. I welcome delegates from all civilizations. Come, see what I offer. Judge for yourselves. There is no danger for those who approach with honest intent. The device went quiet. Hope's presence withdrew. The council chamber was silent. Then everyone started talking at once. Some delegates were frightened. Others amazed. A few skeptical still, but